Are you ready for a career upgrade? One where you are valued and respected for your expertise, where you get to use your strengths every day, where you're doing work that matters, where you have healthy boundaries, and where you're paid really freaking well. And not only that, but you get to use your privilege to open doors and support others in their pursuit of their own upgraded careers? Well, if that sounds good, you're in the right place. I'm your host, Nicole Case, and after a decades-long career in corporate HR, I'm sharing my behind-the-scenes insider knowledge on how you can upgrade your own career and succeed in this wild corporate world. Each episode will have practical, actionable takeaways that you'll be able to implement right away with some healthy doses of encouragement and maybe a kick in the pants or two. Plus, you'll hear from other amazing women who have upgraded their own careers on their terms. So pour yourself a favorite beverage and let's dive into today's episode. Welcome back to the Upgraded Leader Podcast. I'm your host, Nicole Case, and today we are talking about what sets you apart. What's your secret sauce? And just why is that so important to know that about yourself? I've been having a ton of these conversations recently, and so I thought it would be really helpful for me to come on and have a whole podcast episode about this exact thing, because I've got a lot of private clients right now that are making big moves. I had a client who just emailed me today saying she got her big promotion and she got the salary that she was hoping for, which was super awesome. And I'm always super excited whenever I get those emails. And I've been recently working with a private company on some career coaching. So unfortunately, this company had to do a pretty significant layoff. I'm sure a lot of you can relate to that. A lot of companies unfortunately had to do layoffs this year, and they wanted to make sure they were helping those people they needed to impact get on to that next opportunity as fast as possible. So they brought me in to do my career coaching program with those individuals. So I've been doing, I think I did like 4 or 5 workshops with that group. And then I've also been doing a lot of one-on-one coaching with these folks. And so these people were notified back in June that they unfortunately were being let go. And so we're now, like a month and a half or 2 months almost since that has happened. And so where they're at now and kind of the job search process is, their LinkedIns are updated, their resumes are updated, all of that's great. But now they're kind of in the grind, right? They're in the grind of just applying to jobs and interviewing for jobs. And so a lot of the people that I've been talking to recently are just kind of like really down. They're having a hard time articulating their value. Of course, when you go through a layoff situation, it's such a huge hit to your, to your confidence, right? So a lot of them are just kind of really struggling right now. So of course, it's like the perfect storm. You're already not feeling super great about yourself, and then you're trying to go in and sell yourself in an interview. So it's really not a great situation. But I've been having a lot of conversations about people about having, about articulating their value and really just working through this very normal self-doubt and imposter syndrome that they're feeling right now. And I can certainly tell you that I'm definitely struggling with this. I struggle with this still all the time. I think I've shared on this podcast before that I just don't believe that the goal is to never have self-doubt or to never experience imposter syndrome or anything like that. I think that's not really the goal. The goal is to recognize when it's happening and kind of understanding what's going on there. So, of course, just like everybody else, I can totally struggle with this. And it's funny because sometimes when like somebody books me or, I get a big speaking gig or something like that, and I'm like surprised by it, like every time, like it's kind of nice in some ways because I'm like, oh, this is so great. How nice that they've booked me for this. And, my husband always teases me about it because he's just like, Nicole, there is no secret to this. Like you're always surprised whenever people book you. Like you shouldn't be surprised because you're awesome. And one of his favorite movies is Kung Fu Panda. And cause, we're just adult children really. And he always says, about there is no secret ingredient in the secret ingredient noodle soup. It's just you. People just like you. They resonate with you, so don't be surprised whenever people book you because people want to buy from people and book people and engage with people that they like. So, and this isn't like having a popularity contest or anything like that. It's about like, what is it that makes you special? We're all unique. We all bring a different flavor or a different perspective to whatever situation. And that is what sets you apart. So I've been, again, having a lot of these conversations with, these clients who had just recently gone through layoffs. I've got some clients that are, again, going after promotions right now. And sometimes we get really stuck on like, yeah, I just do my job just like everybody else, everybody, does this thing. And I can tell you that they don't. So that's what I want to talk about today is what is that secret sauce of yours? What is it that sets you apart from everyone else? And again, you might say, well, nothing sets me apart. Everybody does what I do in my job. My job's pretty straightforward. It's just, this task list and, we all get it done. And again, it's not true at all. And I know it's really hard to probably answer this question kind of like right off the top of your head, because what makes you special is probably something that's super obvious to you in the sense that it's like, yeah, this is really basic. Yeah, everybody does this thing. Like it's obvious. Why wouldn't you do something like this? I remember talking with a woman, she's an account manager and she was getting really tripped up over some of these interview questions where they're like, how do you onboard a client? And she's just like, well, that's a stupid question. She's like, why would, like everybody does that. I do this and this is what everybody does. And I had to remind her that no, you are super successful in what you do because you do things differently. Again, you might think it's basic, but it's not basic to everyone else. And so whenever we were able to shift her thinking with that, immediately landed the interviews, getting to the end of the stage of a process and immediately got a 30K salary increase. And just from like that shift in her mind of like, yeah, what I do day to day is actually what sets me apart. It comes easily for you. So of course it's going to feel like, well, duh, this is like super basic or, it's not special because it's easy. It's probably a strength for you. And again, that's probably why it doesn't jump out at you that it is something special. So if that said, what makes you special is probably something that's not, coming to the top of your mind, how do you actually figure that out? So how do you figure out what your secret sauce is or what sets you apart? I've got some steps here, and I would love for you to either journal along with me or journal on this afterwards, because I think this is something that's so critical and so important in our careers to make sure that we are, continuing to move into the roles that we want to move into, whether it's up or out or whatever it is that you want to do. Let's focus on what is your secret sauce. So the first thing that you can do is just do some reflection on what feedback that you've gotten recently or what feedback have you gotten in the past where you've been praised for something. Again, like for me, like when I'm like, oh, I'm super surprised that this person booked me, or I'm surprised that, I got that speaking gig or whatever. And it's like, no, I shouldn't be surprised, right? If there's ever moments when you were like, well, I was surprised by the feedback that I got or surprised that I was praised for this thing, because to me, like no big deal, right? It's no biggie. That's a clue. That's a clue that that is something that is special about you. That's a clue that that is part of your secret sauce. The next thing you can do is really just think about what skills do you have? Just literally write them down, like do a brain dump of what your skills are. And I have my clients do this when they do their career stories exercise. And it's by far one of like my client favorite exercise. Like I like give it to them and they're like, I don't know about this. And then next week they come back and they're like, oh my gosh, best thing ever. This was super illuminating and it was a really great confidence booster. So, I have my clients do this. And it always reminds me of the scene in Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire where Professor Moody is trying to help Harry figure out how to get past that first challenge. And he's like, what skills do you have? And Harry like draws a blank and he's just like, oh, I don't know. I don't really have any skills. And it's like, well, of course you do. You're freaking Harry Potter. And he's like, well, I can fly. I'm a fair flyer. And he forgets that he's the youngest seeker in a century. And he ends up winning that challenge because he used his broom to fly because he's a great flyer. But again, he kind of forgot about that was a skill that he could pull on because again, it comes easy and it comes naturally to him. So again, kind of to build upon that, the third thing you can do is to go back and look at your strengths. So go back, listen to episodes 28 and 29 where we talked about strengths. I'll link them in the show notes for you. But what you are naturally good at is likely what makes you special. So what are the things that maybe don't take you very long to do because you're good at them. I am not great at spreadsheets. I'm not great at analyzing numbers and those kinds of things. So it takes me longer to do those things than other people that I know that are like super whizzes at that kind of stuff. But I know I'm really great at speaking and storytelling and connecting with people quickly. Like for me to put together a podcast episode like this does not take me all that long. For me to, come up with a story and just, really engage with people and really connect with people doesn't take me very long to do that. In fact, again, I myself kind of forgot about this. And I remember last year I was telling my own coach that, we were just kind of going over what had happened the last couple of weeks. And I said, yeah, the other week the consulting firm that I work with to do some training, they called me, it's, super last minute and said, hey, we had a cancellation and we need somebody to cover a training next week, a custom training next week that you've never done before. Can you do that? And I was like, yeah, sure, whatever, sounds good. And I did. And I went in and did it. And it was great. And my coach said, Nicole, stop. We need to back up here a minute because we need to honor the fact that that was a really big deal. And I was like, no, it wasn't. Like, did a little bit of prep work, went in, did my thing, done and over. And she was like, no, something like that for me, first of all, is my worst nightmare. And secondly, it would take me hours to prep for something like that to feel comfortable and actually go in and do a really good job. So she she was really great in helping ground me and remind me that that's actually a really special thing. That part of my secret sauce is being able to walk into any room, any audience, kind of read the situation, understand what's going on, and launch into a value add talk, training, facilitation, what have you. So the fourth thing that you can do to kind of figure out what that secret sauce is for you is just, what do you like doing? What are you passionate about? Why do you do what you do? Again, I like doing this podcast. I like speaking in front of groups. I like talking to people one-on-one, about their career, about their life, about just, finding out this exact thing. What is their secret sauce? I love helping people in this way. I am passionate about getting women and non-straight, non-white, non-male people into positions of power. And this is how I do it. I use my skills and my strengths to help make the world a more equitable and happier place, right? Like, what would happen? Like, what would the world look like if everybody went to work every day and did work that they absolutely loved and leaned into their strengths and got paid really well for it? And then they went home to their families and were able to be fully present with their families and be happy and satisfied. Like, what would the world be like if we could all have access and have the opportunity to have a job like that, to make an impact in the world? So again, that's what I'm passionate about. This is why I do what I do. And I think that comes out. And again, when I'm on this show, or when I'm doing a keynote talk, or when I'm coaching someone one-on-one, I think that really comes out, and that's what makes me special. Fifth thing that you can do to kind of just figure out what it is that makes you special or what your secret sauce is just thinking through your accomplishments in your life, in your career, and how you did those things. So what sets you apart is not what you accomplished, but how you do it. So yes, look at your resume and, what are all of those great accomplishments? But what your resume doesn't always share really clearly is how you did it. How did you get that done? That's kind of the trick, right? Whenever you're applying for jobs or going out for a promotion or something like that, is just trying to articulate, how you actually get those things done. So I have a client right now that I've been working with. She's an internal audit, and she's just like, my job is my job. The task that we do, everybody does it. It's like, it's internal audit. It's, there's not a whole lot of creativity there in that sense, right? It's just like, here it is. But when we started to get down into kind of the nitty gritty of, again, what makes her special and what's her secret sauce, she realized, she was like, well, I'm able to take really complex and boring information and break it down so that other stakeholders can understand it without dumbing it down, right? Like, not without dumbing it down. So I can take super complex things, I can explain it to other people in a way that they understand, but without also making them feel stupid, right? She's like, that's really my secret. That's the secret to my success. And I was just like, nailed it. That's amazing. So we've really started to hone in on that. And as she's out there interviewing, she's really starting to talk about that in order for her to set herself apart from everybody else who's all worked for, the same Big Four, who've all got the same certification, right? Like she's really, really honing into, this is what is setting me apart from everyone else. So the last thing that you can do to just figure out what that secret sauce is for yourself is just ask someone. Ask a mentor, ask a boss, a peer that you work with really closely, a customer, maybe, working with a coach can really help. Ask them, just truly just ask them, what sets you apart or what do they see as your secret sauce? Sometimes we're just kind of so in our own heads and so in our own stuff that we can't read the label from inside the jar. And it's helpful for someone else to really share their outside perspective. And again, this is something for you to be doing with your own employees if you have a team. So if you are a leader, you're an upgraded leader, part of your role is to see those gifts and those strengths in your employees and try to honor those as best you can within the team. Now, I know we can't always put people into certain positions or give people tasks that always align to their secret sauce or always align to their strengths and their skills. But that's part of your job as an upgraded leader is really identify those things and share those with your employees, right? Whenever you're giving feedback, to be really specific with your feedback in that way to highlight what it is that you see that sets them apart and what makes them special. So again, if we go back, you're trying to figure out what your secret sauce is or what sets you apart. First, do some reflection on maybe some of the feedback that you've got in the past. What have you been praised for? Think about what those skills that you have that just, things that you're really good at. What are your strengths? Again, those things that just come really naturally to you. What are those things that you like doing? What are you passionate about? Think about what your accomplishments are in life and your career and how did you actually do those things? How did you actually accomplish those? Because the accomplishments are great, but what sets you apart is how you actually got those things done. And then finally, ask a mentor, boss, peer, customer, work with your coach, ask someone, what is it that you see is my secret sauce? Or what do you think sets me apart from everyone else? So when you start to see what makes you special and stand out, you can start articulating that when you are talking with your clients or your boss, or you're in for an interview, and just knowing that that's your secret sauce, you can lean into that even more and find even more satisfaction and success in your career. So let me know. I'd love to hear from you about what you came up with as your secret sauce. Send me an email at nicole@theupgradedleader.com and let me know what your secret sauce is. I want to hear all about it. But in the meantime, I will see you back here in 2 weeks. And don't forget, your career deserves an upgrade.